how do you prepare for a match where you don't know who you're playing against? And so more and more often, probably deeper in the draw, you know who you're playing against and what their game styles are like. But if you're playing new players or new opponents that you haven't really seen or played against yet, how do how much focus is there on you and your partner versus figuring out, how are the opponents playing?
Yeah, that's a good question because I think it's important to find a balance between focusing on yourself and focusing on your opponents because you don't want to over focus on your opponents. You want to get some scouting done if you can, watch videos of them, maybe talk to other people or have a coach look at videos for you and have a discussion about their strengths and weaknesses. But then you don't want to get too caught up in everything that they do because it takes the focus off of how you want to play.
Mhm.
And so I it's good you asked that because it's a good reminder for me too because I'm a very like information oriented person, so I want to know everything about, someone or a situation or something that happens in a match. On this point they like to do that, but sometimes you just have to trust your own instinct about what feels right in that moment regardless of who's on the other side of the court.
Mhm.
And I think it's much better if you know the tendencies of your opponents, but then you forget who they are, whatever ranking they are, whatever wins they've just had or losses, it doesn't matter. And then you focus on the ball coming at you, and you've played long enough to where you can handle then, what's thrown at you. And if you get outplayed, you get outplayed. But you go into it with the confidence that you know yourself and you know your game and you're going to trust your strengths. And
Mhm.
if they're too good and they exploit too many of your weaknesses, okay, then you get to work on it. But you
Mhm.
can't fix everything in one match. You can't plan for everything that will happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And how often does it happen that you do go out and play your game, play well, and you end up losing score wise? Does that happen very often or?
um for me, I would say when I'm playing my best, it doesn't happen that much. When me and my partner are both playing very, very well, whoever I've partnered with, I would say it doesn't happen that much. I would say I mostly lose matches when I'm not playing at a level that I'm
That you're
satisfied
capable?
with.
Mm-hmm.
So, and sure, there are days when I'm playing great, my partner's playing terrible, I'm playing terrible, my partner's playing great. That's doubles. And that you just have to, again, it's just rolling with the punches there. It happens. You try to support each other the best that you can.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's sometimes difficult to find that balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's the beauty of doubles too. So
Right. Yeah. It's very much like life, isn't it?
yeah, it is.
So who takes sort of initiative or charge between that, partnership that you have? Does it vary based on how that day is going, or is there always someone that's sort of going like, no, you know what, let's do this tactically, or let's do that tactically in the next point, or who leads that?
It depends on the partner. So some people tend to want to take the initiative. Others are a little bit more reserved. Doesn't mean that one way is right, one way is wrong. Sometimes you need somebody to step up, other times you need them to back off. So I think it's better if you're a little bit more aware of the situation and then you react accordingly. So if you sense your partner's down, but down, very down, sometimes they need like a big boost. But if they're just a little bit down, it's just a small boost. Like you don't need to overdo it sometimes.
Mhm.
I think one of the worst things that can happen is when you begin to micromanage your partner. I'm guilty of doing that. Some other partners are guilty of doing that with me. And I find that overkill of information or support sometimes makes things worse, especially if you're in a more consistent partnership,
Mhm.
because then it becomes a bit of a habit. And then you feel like, oh, we know each other better. Maybe we're closer as friends. And then you feel like, oh, I can tell her something maybe in the first game of the match if I notice a mistake. And it's like, no, like leave. That's one thing I would say. Leave the first game of the match. If your partner's making a mistake, let it go.
Yeah.
Because the first game of the match is not really an indication of the rest of the match. Sometimes it's nerves, sometimes it's overconfidence, sometimes it's they're not, focused yet. And so you just, I would, if someone's being a bit funny in the first game, kind of let it go. It doesn't necessarily mean things are going to keep going. You just watch the pattern. If you feel like there's a pattern, then maybe you say something, but it's just a very sensitive sort of
Hmm.
thing,
Hmm. Oh,
so it just really depends on the situation and the people
yeah.
as well.
Well, that's great. And then, a lot of what you're talking about is sort of real relationship advice, isn't it, as well? Like in so, did you acquire these skills through your coaches in the past, or just through your own personal experiences and family, or is it through sports psychology, books? How does that get
Uh,
developed? You obviously have a great understanding of what needs to be done in a partnership.
Probably a bit of everything. Some coaching when I was younger and in my teenage years, some guidance. I would say some just from playing a long time and playing a lot of doubles, some from hearing what other people do and what works, what doesn't work. Sometimes just communicating with my partner directly and saying, what do you like? What don't you like? um it's kind of like a mix, I think, of everything at this point. Yeah.
Nice. And how do you yourself deal with pressure when it comes your way, like within a match, for whatever reason? Do you have a strategy that you go to usually, or?
Well, it's something that I've really always struggled with, because like I said, I take tennis very seriously, and I've always felt like I'm accountable for my actions, and but sometimes that hurts me because I tighten up and then I get nervous. So now what I've been trying to teach myself to do is to focus on my breathing, pay attention, to the air coming in and out of my nostrils, or if I'm really winded, in and out of my mouth. Um, Sometimes it's paying attention to just like the feeling of the racket in my hand or the feeling of my body moving on the court. So taking myself out of my head and putting myself into my body, because my body knows what to do. And if it doesn't know what to do, that just means it's something that needs to be improved and it needs to be drilled in better. But muscle memory at this point is pretty much set. So it's more about how do I get my best tennis out of me in those pressure moments. And so I've been trying to apply these new habits, to my game so that I can play my best tennis more often. And so I'm not getting in my own way as much. And I know a lot of people can relate to that too, especially if you're like a natural overthinker like
Of
me.
course. Definitely. So what's your like ideal point? If you were to play a point and win it, like what would it be like?
It would be an ace.
You don't get an ace.
It would
Okay.
be an ace. Done there. No, but if the point continues, I mean, I love being at the net. So I love any play that involves volleys and overheads. So I love to get to the net. I love to poach. I love to fake and have somebody play on me. I love that aspect of doubles. I think it's really, really fun because then I get to use like my skill set, which I think are like my reactions, and anticipation at the net. So yeah, so that would probably be like my favorite like situation to be in. Yeah.
Well, it's very obvious how passionate you are for the game, and I know it must be killing you to be sitting inside of a room. But again, like really, thank you so much for chatting with me. Me personally, I wish you all the best, and for hopefully a great rest of the year, as well as this tournament to start with. And yeah, so yeah, thanks again, and take care of yourself. And we can't wait to watch you play. And I'm gonna
Uh,
share with everybody that
Thanks.
I know.
I appreciate that. Thank
Yeah,
you. It's been
welcome.
really
Thank
nice
you.
chatting.
Yeah, good. Thanks,
All
Gaby. Have
right.
a good rest of your
Stay
day.
safe up there, huh?
Yeah, I know. Have
Take
a good
care.
sunny day. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.